What are the biggest problems you see today with men when it comes to work, life, money, and family?
Men have been devalued and trivialized and been the villain or the clown of everything for a good 20 years. You don't see a TV commercial where the dad is the hero, he's an idiot, or a sitcom where the dad is the hero, he's an idiot. The 12-year-old is the smart one, and they smart off through the whole script. And they're the brilliant one. And but the dad's a doofus, and the mother rolls her eyes at the doofus that she picked as a life partner. And if you do that to any segment of the economy long enough, eventually they begin to believe it. And so we have 7.2 million men that are able-bodied, able-minded, that are not engaged in the workplace right now. They're doing nothing. They're sitting because the entire culture has said, you're a doofus, you're a buffoon, you're valueless, manhood, masculinity is toxic by its very nature, and so you're of no value. And the problem is it's destroying not only economics, but social fabric as well. Because we do know the data on kids, particularly daughters, the cues they take from their dad are devastatingly impactful, good or bad. And so an engaged dad who builds confidence and gives their daughter hugs growing up until she leaves home, and even after she leaves home, builds a confident daughter, a daughter that is not sexually promiscuous, a daughter that finishes college, a daughter that will not be victimized in the marketplace. That comes from their dads. The data shows that. And so when the dad is not engaged, it's horrible for the social fabric. And it messes with sons too, but it's a different thing. The father wound on us sons is different, but and it's very real. But but economically speaking, what we're doing is we've got 7.2 million of these guys doing nothing, zero. They're being supported by a disability check, and they're not disabled, but they signed up and claimed disability. They're being supported by their girlfriend, their mother. They're being supported by something else. They are not generating an income in the marketplace. And so their personal dignity has just eroded. And to get those people back re-engaged, if we open up a whole bunch of factories in America because manufacturing comes back to America with this Trump stuff, I don't know who's going to be in there working. I don't think those guys want to go back in there. I think they have gotten pretty comfortable sitting on their couch and lost hope. And so we've got to say, okay, being male is not evil. Being male is not necessarily holier either, but it's not evil. And it is different than being female. And it is a thing. And ladies can produce wonderful, creative things and wonderful incomes in the economy, and so can gentlemen. And so, let's go be gentlemen and ladies, and let's go do the best things we can for our society, for our culture, our community, and each other, and get re-engaged and quit telling everybody that the worst possible thing you could be is a white guy. It's like the worst human on the planet in America. It's the only one in America that no one takes up for.
So what do you think those people need to hear to make a change today? If you were speaking in terms of owning themselves and making a change in the workforce and in their lives.
It is a, it's a destiny thing.
Yeah.
It's you do have the power. You do have the power to do things. You do have the ability to just stand up and decide, I'm in business. You can just decide, I'm going to do these things. And all of a sudden you are. I mean, and it's an empowerment idea or message is called hope. I think where we lost connection was that if I do all the right things, I'm not going to get the result. If I plant the corn, I'm not going to get corn. I'm going to get poison. Poison's going to grow. Nightshade's going to grow out of the ground if I plant corn. Somehow we got this disconnect, and we've got to go back to believing the cause and effect of hard work, the cause and effect of generosity, the cause and effect of kindness and compassion, the cause and effect of having good quality relationships, that there's a tie-in, that these things are not compartmentalized, that they are there's a holistic view to all this. So you start to understand, okay, building a net worth of $1 million or $2 million is not compartmentalized. The tie-in is that we found 83% of them have an onboard spouse that works as their teammate. That's not a disconnect. That is causal. That's not simply correlation. And versus if you interview the general public, 40% say their spouse and them are on the same page, but they're not, obviously not winning in these areas. And that, so when you start to believe in the cause and effect, then you go, okay, it's really important that you and I get on the same page, darling, and that we are pulling this wagon together instead of apart. And
what questions do you ask, or what questions should someone ask their spouse to make sure you're on the same page?
Let's start talking about that desired future and be in agreement on that. If we got our desired future laid out in HD, high definition, we can see the sweat beads on it, we can see the hair color on it, we know exactly what winning looks like. It'll change, but for today, we're in agreement that that's where we want to go. Then we can start reverse engineering together. What sacrifices have we got to make? What must be true that's not true today? What price do we have to pay to get there? When we started this business, I had just gone broke a couple years before. We had nothing. I made $130,000 flipping real estate the year I started this. And it was 3 years after I'd gone bankrupt. And I really wasn't flipping it. I was just tying it up and selling the position, selling the contracts. And I did the numbers, and I said, Sharon, we sat down and looked at it, and she said, this stuff that you're teaching at church, this financial peace stuff, this is really helping people. And we need to talk about that. Okay, so we're praying about it. I'm like, okay, I think God is telling us to go just do that and not do real estate anymore. But if we do, the best I can figure, selling a few books and a few speeches and, having a little class, I might make $62,000. Here's the numbers. Here's how I get there, which is half of what I made the year before. I got little babies and a wife who's just gone through a bankruptcy. And we're looking at this, and I said, do you think we ought to do that? And she said, I think we're supposed to do that. I said, you really think we're supposed to take a pay cut in half? This is the weirdest, stupid conversation. She says, not a pay cut in half. It's a step. It's what we must do to get to where. And she said, can you imagine how many people are in debt? If we helped a few million of them, how much that 62,000 would change? And we talked about it. We said, okay, but you know what this means? It means I got 16-hour days for the next 2 years. You're going to be a single mom who's just gone through bankruptcy. I'll be here, but I ain't going to be here. I mean, I'm going to be on the road talking books. I'm going to be talking to radio stations to get them to put me on. I'm going to be in a ballroom speaking somewhere. I'm going to be at the back table selling books. I'm going to be at the office till 11 o'clock at night counseling somebody who's broke. I mean, that's what this means. And she's like, yeah, but let's give it 2 years and see what it does. And for 2 years, I worked 16-hour days. But so what do you do? Why am I bringing that out? Not to brag, but obviously it worked out. Okay, no kidding. Life's good, right? But we laid out the desired future where we want to be 10 years from now, but here's the price that must be paid to get there. And only then together could we do that. If she had been at home going, we need work-life balance. I'm here with these little kids all day long by myself. And what are we doing? Financial peace, my butt. If that had been the routine, which she never said a single word like that at all, to her credit. I mean, she's a freaking warrior. And she'd send me out the door with lashes on my back. Get out there, and so quite the opposite. So, but if we weren't joined at the hip on this, if we weren't aligned on the price that must be paid to get to the desired future, we couldn't have done it. We couldn't have done it. And so people say, well, what about Sharon Ramsey? Sharon Ramsey's the hero of the story, the whole story, because unlike most of the people that I know, I have not had to deal with a high maintenance spouse who's always driving the train off the tracks the whole time I'm over here trying to work. Instead, it was quite the opposite. It's like we're pulling together, and anyone that says or does anything about this place, you don't want her in your life.
If you've ever been denied a car loan, credit card, or even an apartment because of what's on your credit report, you are not alone. Most people don't even know what's hurting their credit score, let alone how to fix it. That is exactly where our sponsor Dispute Beast comes in. It's an AI-powered platform that helps you find and remove outdated or inaccurate items from your credit report fast.
We're talking things like late payments, old accounts and collections, or even accounts that don't belong to you. Not to mention, how it works is super easy. You connect your credit report, and DisputeBeast scans it for negative marks that could be dragging down your score. Then it generates custom dispute letters, tailored for your situation, no templates and no guesswork.
You could choose to just download the data and send it to the agencies yourself, or you can use their built-in mail service where they will literally handle everything for you.
It's honestly just really clean and simple to use, and it's built by experts.
So if you're ready to take back control of your credit, go to disputebeast.com/ICH today. There's also a link down below in the description, disputebeast.com/ICH. Guys, they will literally handle everything for you. If you're dissatisfied with your credit, they will do all of the research, let you know what's going wrong, and they will fight for you. disputebeast.com/ICH. Thank you so much to DisputeBeast for sponsoring this clip.